What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all having a fantastic day. But honestly, I am still absolutely vibrating from what we just witnessed. I literally just shut off my TV. My jaw is still on the floor, and my blood pressure is through the roof. If you are an NBA fan, if you live for high stakes, blood in the water, legacy-defining basketball, then we are about to experience absolute cinema. We are staring down the barrel of Game 3 between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. And let me tell you right now, this series has officially crossed the line from a basketball game into a bitter, hostile street fight. The series is tied up at 1 game apiece. We are heading down I-95 to the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, and the atmosphere for Game 3 is going to be straight up radioactive. I am talking about a level of toxicity and pure sports hatred that we have not seen in a very long time. We have to start with the stakes and the unbelievable drama heading into this Friday night clash, because the narrative whiplash in this series is giving me a concussion. We all know Boston blew them out in Game 1. And we all know Philly pulled off a miracle in Game 2. But the basketball is almost taking a back seat to the pure carnage that happened in the trenches. I am still furious looking back at it. The absolute turning point. The moment that is going to define Game 3 is Jaylen Brown's vicious below-the-belt elbow to Paul George. It was dirty. It was unnecessary, and it looked incredibly painful. When I saw PG double over, knowing that Joel Embiid is already sitting in a hospital gown recovering from an appendectomy, I felt sick for Philadelphia. You are already down your MVP. And now your veteran anchor takes a brutal, cheap shot. But here is why Game 3 is the most anticipated game of the entire playoffs. Right now, Jaylen Brown just woke up a sleeping giant. The stakes for Game 3 are astronomical. The Sixers stole home court advantage, but they are wounded animals right now. Can a battered Paul George play through the agony? Can this incredibly resilient Philadelphia team protect their home court against a Boston squad that is going to come in absolutely desperate? Or will the Celtics smell blood in the water, silence the most hostile crowd in the league, and take back control of this series? Now, let us get into the trenches and talk about the tactical battlefield for Game 3. Because Joe Mazzulla and Nick Nurse are playing a high-stakes game of chess, and somebody is about to get checkmated. I need to vent for a second, because if I have to watch the Boston Celtics play drop coverage against this Philadelphia 76ers team in Game 3, I am going to lose my absolute mind. It is basketball terrorism. In Game 2, Boston's defensive scheme was an absolute joke. They were so terrified of Tyrese Maxey's downhill speed that they literally rolled out the red carpet behind the three-point line. You cannot do that in the modern NBA. Heading into Game 3, Mazzulla has to look himself in the mirror and completely overhaul this pick-and-roll defense. They cannot concede above the break threes. It is tactical suicide. I expect a massive, aggressive adjustment from Boston right from the opening tip. I am talking about switching 1 through 5. They have the personnel to do it. You have Derek White. You have Junior Holiday. You have Jayson Tatum. There is zero excuse to be dropping Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis into the paint and letting rookie V.J. Edgecombe take practice shots. In Game 3, Boston is going to bring their bigs up to the level of the screen. They are going to blitz Tyrese Maxey. They are going to put 2 bodies on the ball, force it out of his hands, and make the rest of this battered Sixers roster try to beat them in 4-on-3 situations. They are going to test exactly how crisp Philadelphia's ball movement really is under heavy playoff-level pressure. And that completely changes the geometry of the court for the 76ers offense. If Maxey is getting trapped at the logo, the release valve has to be Paul George or V.J. Edgecombe. But if Paul George is dealing with severe core pain from that elbow, his mobility is compromised. When you catch the ball on the short roll, you have to be able to immediately explode to the rim or whip a cross-court pass to the corner. If PG is a step slow, the Celtics' defensive rotations are going to swallow him whole. Boston is going to aggressively dig into the driving lanes. They are going to stunt and recover. And they are going to try to turn Game 3 into a chaotic turnover fest. Philadelphia's spacing has to be utterly flawless. If their shooters hesitate for even a fraction of a second, Boston's length will close that window. On the other side of the floor, the Celtics offense needs a massive wake-up call in Game 3. Jaylen Brown got his points. He was in his bag. But the rest of the team looked like they were running in quicksand. Jayson Tatum, specifically, has to completely change his approach. In Game 2, he was a black hole. He was catching the ball, holding it, jabbing 3 times while the entire Philadelphia defense rotated and built a wall. That cannot happen in a hostile road environment. In Game 3, I need to see Tatum playing rapid-fire basketball, catch and go, catch and shoot. If he draws the double team, which Nick Nurse is absolutely going to send, Tatum has to make that read in half a second. The Sixers are going to try to bully the Celtics. They are going to try to bump Tatum off his spots. Boston's counter to that physical pressure has to be beautiful. Swinging ball movement. They need to drive, kick, swing the ball around the perimeter, and force this exhausted Sixers team to close out on corner threes all night long. So let us transition to the X factors and the injury impacts. Because this is where Game 3 is going to be won or lost in the margins. I cannot stop thinking about V.J. Edgecombe. What this kid did was legendary. 30 points, 10 rebounds, hitting threes like he was in an open gym. But guys, we have to talk about that fall. He took a terrifying spill on his back early in the game. He played through it because adrenaline is a hell of a drug in the playoffs. But 2 days later, that back is going to be incredibly stiff, and the Celtics are going to test it immediately. The biggest X factor for Boston is how they defend Edgecombe in Game 3. They are not going to leave him open anymore. I expect Jrue Holiday to completely deny him the ball. They are going to make him fight through multiple screens just to catch a pass. They want to see if that back can handle the physical wear and tear of a suffocating face guard. If Edgecombe comes back down to earth, where does Philadelphia find those 30 points? And that brings us to the biggest X factor of them all, the psychological warfare and the Philadelphia crowd. Do not underestimate the impact of an angry city. The moment Jaylen Brown steps onto the court for warm-ups, that arena is going to sound like a jet engine of pure hatred. The boos are going to shake the camera lenses. Every time Brown touches the ball, it is going to be deafening. The Sixers are going to feed off that energy. Nick Nurse is going to have his guys playing like junkyard dogs. They are going to dive on the floor. They are going to take hard fouls. And they are going to try to completely rattle the Boston Celtics. Boston is a veteran team, but human nature is real. If the Celtics miss a few early shots, if the crowd gets into the referees' heads and the whistle starts favoring the home team, Boston has to maintain their composure. In Game 3, the X factor for the Celtics is emotional maturity. Joe Mazzulla has to keep his guys locked in. You cannot get into a shouting match with the fans. You cannot complain to the refs after every drive. If Boston loses their cool, the Sixers will run them right out of the building on pure momentum alone. But if Boston can weather that early storm, if they can hit a couple of silencing threes and take the crowd out of the game, the pressure completely shifts back onto Philadelphia's role players. All right? It is time for the prediction and the outro. We have broken down the tactical adjustments. We have felt the absolute hatred brewing after the dirty plays. And we know exactly what is on the line. So how does this monumental Game 3 actually play out? I expect Friday night to start off as an absolute rock fight. The Philadelphia 76ers are going to come out riding an unbelievable wave of emotion. The crowd is going to be electric. Tyrese Maxey is going to hit a crazy transition 3 early. And I think Paul George is going to hit a couple of tough, contested jumpers just on pure veteran grit. Philadelphia will likely win the first quarter, playing on adrenaline and the absolute need to defend their turf. But an NBA basketball game is a grueling, exhausting, 48-minute marathon. As the game grinds into the second half, the physical realities of this series are going to set in. Paul George's core is going to stiffen up. Jay, Edgecombe's back is going to ache. And most importantly, the Boston Celtics are going to execute their adjustments. They are going to switch everything. They are going to choke out the three-point line and force Philadelphia to beat them in the paint. By the fourth quarter, the Sixers' lack of depth without Joel Embiid is going to be glaringly obvious. They are going to be gassed. And that is exactly when the Boston Celtics' overwhelming talent advantage is going to take over. I predict Jayson Tatum is going to have a massive bounce-back game. He is going to use the intense hostility of the crowd as fuel, operating flawlessly from the mid-post and generating wide-open looks for his teammates. Boston will finally start hitting their open corner threes. The ball movement will look crisp, and the mathematical advantage of Boston's roster will simply overwhelm a broken, battered Philadelphia team. My official prediction: the Boston Celtics walk into the absolute hornet's nest of Philadelphia, weather an incredibly emotional early storm, and exact their revenge. They steal Game 3 inches, a physical, exhausting, defensive slugfest, winning by a final score of 106-98. The Celtics will take a 2-1 series lead, and the Sixers will be left searching for answers and praying for a medical miracle. But look, that is just my breakdown. And honestly, in a series this chaotic, anything can happen. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. Am I completely disrespecting the heart of this Philadelphia team? Do you think the Sixers use that Jaylen Brown elbow as ultimate motivation to protect their home court? Or do you agree that Boston's tactical adjustments and pure talent will just be too much for a battered roster to handle? Get down in the comment section right now and give me your exact score predictions and your MVP for Game 3. I read every single one of them. If you enjoyed this deep dive breakdown, make sure you smash that like button. Hit subscribe so you do not miss a single playoff preview. And turn on those notifications. We are covering this entire war from every angle. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay hyped for Friday night. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.